In today's video, we're tackling a crucial decision that every business owner faces at some point in their journey, choosing between an LLC or a DBA for your business structure. This choice might seem like just paperwork and legal details, but it can significantly impact your personal liability, tax situation, and even your business growth potentially down the road. First, we'll break down exactly what these structures are. An LLC is a limited liability company, while a DBA stands for doing business as. They serve different purposes and come with their own sets of advantages and limitations. We'll compare them across several key factors that matter most to entrepreneurs: legal protection, setup costs, ongoing expenses, tax implications, credibility with customers and partners, as well as flexibility for future growth. By the end of this video, you'll understand the fundamental differences between an LLC and a DBA, as well as the real costs involved with each option, and more specifically, how your personal assets are affected by the choice that you make with them. Now, my goal for this video isn't to push you towards one option or the other, but to equip you with the knowledge to choose what works best for your unique situation. First things first, it's important to note that we actually do have a few relationships with the services that we'll be talking about in today's video. These services include things like Bizee, which we actually have a link down in the description that is an affiliate link, which means that if you use that link to use any of their services, we could financially benefit from that at no extra cost to you. So without further ado, let's get started. A DBA, or doing business as, is essentially a registered name that allows you to operate your business under a name different from your own. It's not a legal entity, it's more like a nickname for your business. For example, if your name is Sarah Johnson and you want to run a graphic design business called Creative Spark Designs without creating a separate legal entity, you register a doing business as, or DBA. This allows you to do things like open a bank account and accept payments in your business name. An LLC, on the other hand, is a limited liability company, a formal legal entity that exists separately from its owners, which is called the members in this case. It combines elements of a corporation, partnership, and sole proprietorship, offering personal liability protection while maintaining simplicity. When you're starting out, you'll typically find yourself choosing between operating as a sole proprietorship with a DBA or forming an LLC. A sole proprietorship is the default business structure when you start organizing or operating without any formal entity structure. Adding a DBA to this gives your brand more of an identity, while an LLC provides that plus legal protection that you might be looking for. Both have their place, but understanding the differences is really crucial here, especially if you're trying to make the right choice. Now, first things first, I want to highlight a few factors that might influence your decision between an LLC and a DBA in the first place. The first of these is that your industry matters pretty significantly here. If you're in a high-risk field like construction, food service, or healthcare, where lawsuits are a little bit more common, the liability protection of an LLC becomes much more valuable. On the flip side of this, if you're offering low-risk services like freelance writing or virtual assistants, a DBA might be more than sufficient. Secondly, it's important to consider your business timeline and your ultimate goals inside of it. Are you testing a business idea that might evolve or change? A DBA might give you the flexibility with minimal investment for that. Or if you're planning to build a long-term business that could eventually be sold, an LLC provides the structure that buyers and investors typically expect from you. The third thing to be aware of is state-specific requirements. The cost and processes for both LLCs and DBAs vary dramatically, depending especially on where you're located. For example, forming an LLC in New York involves publication requirements that can cost sometimes up to $2,000 in some counties, while Kentucky might only charge you $40 for an initial filing. And the fourth consideration is recognizing that neither structure is permanent. You can start with a DBA and transition to an LLC later if your business grows or your risk level goes up. However, this transition does involve some administrative work and potential costs that you could incur. And lastly, while I'll provide some solid information today, remember that I can't offer legal or tax advice tailored to your specific situation. For personalized guidance, consulting with a business attorney or tax professional is always going to be a smart investment here. There's also some great LLC formation services that we'll have linked down in the description that you can take advantage of if you don't want to have to do all this yourself. Now, make sure to keep these considerations in mind as we explore each option in detail. The biggest difference between an LLC and a DBA comes down to one crucial factor: legal separation between you and your business. With a DBA, there's no separation. You and your business are legally the same entity. If someone decides to sue your business, they're actually suing you personally. This means your personal assets, your home, car, savings account, and other valuables are all fair game if your business gets in legal trouble or can't pay its debts. Let's make this a little bit more real. Imagine you run a small retail shop as a sole proprietor with a DBA. A customer slips, falls, and decides to sue for $200,000 for pain and suffering. Even if you have some business insurance, any amount not covered could come directly from your personal finances. An LLC, however, creates what lawyers call a corporate veil, which is basically a legal barrier between your business assets and your personal ones. If your LLC does unfortunately face a lawsuit or can't pay its debts, your personal assets are generally protected. Creditors can go after what the business owns, but typically not what you own personally. But there is a catch to this. This protection isn't automatic or absolute. To maintain the separation, you need to do a few specific things. Keep your business and personal finances completely separate. Make sure you're following all the LLC formalities like maintaining operating agreements, avoiding personally guaranteeing business debts, which many small business loans unfortunately do require you to do, and also not engage in fraudulent or illegal activities. Courts can pierce the corporate veil if you don't respect these boundaries, potentially making you personally liable despite even having an LLC. For many entrepreneurs, the liability protection alone justifies the additional cost and paperwork of forming an LLC. But for others in low-risk businesses with minimal potential for lawsuits or significant debt, a DBA might provide sufficient structure without the extra expense associated. Now let's talk about what it actually takes to set up each option in the first place, both in terms of paperwork and of course your hard-earned cash. Setting up a DBA is pretty straightforward. You'll typically file a form with your county's clerk office or state government, depending on of course where you live. The process usually involves completing a simple registration form and paying a filing fee, typically between $10 to $150. In some places, publishing a notice in a local newspaper may also be an additional cost, as well as renewing every 5 years, which is often about every 5 years or so for a smaller fee. For example, in California, you'd register with your county clerk and pay about $35 to $65 to publish in a local newspaper for 4 consecutive weeks, and of course renew that every 5 years. By comparison, forming an LLC involves more steps and higher costs here. Filing articles of organization with your state, which fees can range from $40 in Kentucky over $500 in Massachusetts. There's also the concept of designating a registered agent who can accept legal documents, and creating an operating agreement, which is not always legally required but still very strongly recommended, and of course paying annual maintenance fees like annual reports or franchise taxes. Handling ongoing compliance requirements using services like Bizee for DBAs, which you can find through the link down in the description, or even Tailor Brands for LLCs, which again you can find with the link down in the description, as well as a huge discount. These things can simplify the process. What these services basically do is handle the paperwork and ensure that you meet all the requirements, and they do it completely for you. The price difference here is a little bit significant though, and a DBA might cost you about $50 to $200 all in, while an LLC can run you anywhere from $100 to over $1,000 depending on the state that you're setting it up in. Plus, of course, those annual fees. If you're testing a business concept or running a low budget side hustle, the DBA's lower barrier to entry is definitely appealing here. But if you're investing significantly in your business or facing meaningful liability risks, the extra cost of an LLC might be worth every penny for the protection it provides. Now, the tax differences between a DBA and an LLC might not be immediately obvious, but they can significantly impact your bottom line. With a DBA, taxation is simple but inflexible. Since a DBA isn't a separate tax entity, sole proprietors report all business income on Schedule C of their personal tax return. All net business earnings are subject to self-employment tax, which is about 15.3% for Social Security and Medicare. You can't separate your income types for tax advantages. For an LLC, taxation is much more flexible. By default, single-member LLCs are taxed just like sole proprietorships. Multi-member LLCs are taxed like partnerships, but that's where it gets interesting. LLCs can elect different tax treatments by filing forms with the IRS. You can choose S corporation taxation, which is through Form 2553, which allows you to pay yourself a reasonable salary plus distributions. Only the salary portion is subject to self-employment taxes. Or you can elect C corporation taxation, which is going to be through Form 8832, if that makes sense for your situation. Let me show you how this works with some real numbers. Let's say your business makes $150,000 in profit. With a DBA, you'd pay self-employment tax on the entire $150,000, costing around $23,000 in self-employment taxes. With an LLC taxed as an S corp, you might pay yourself an $80,000 salary, which will be subject to payroll taxes, and take $70,000 as distributions, which of course is not subject to self-employment tax. This could potentially save you thousands in taxes annually. Beyond taxes, there's also the financial credibility factor. Banks and lenders often view LLCs more favorably than DBAs DBAs, especially when you're applying for business loans or for business credit. An LLC's separate legal status provides more confidence that you're serious about your business, potentially giving you access to better financing options. This tax flexibility becomes increasingly valuable as your business grows and becomes more profitable. For businesses in the early stages with modest profits, the tax advantages might not outweigh the additional costs of maintaining an LLC. And then, of course, the next big consideration here is growth potential and business credibility. When you're starting out, it's easy to focus on immediate concerns like cost and setup complexity, but your business structure also impacts your long-term growth options as well as how others perceive your business. With a DBA, your business is inherently tied to you as an individual. If you want to bring on partners later, you need to create a new business structure. Selling your business can also be very complicated since there's no separate entity to transfer ownership for. If something happens to you like retirement, disability, or even God forbid that you die, the business typically can't continue without significant legal restructuring. Some clients, especially larger companies or even government agencies, may be hesitant to work with sole proprietors due to their perceived instability. An LLC offers significant advantages for growth here. It exists independently from its owners and can continue regardless of your member changes. You can easily add members by updating your operating agreement and ownership percentages. The business can also be sold as a complete entity, making exit strategies cleaner and potentially more valuable. Many customers and partners perceive LLCs as more professional and established, which can be particularly important in B2B contexts. You can also protect your business name at the state level, preventing others from using the same name within your state. Consider this real-world example. If you're a freelance web developer with a DBA and you win a contract with a major corporation, they might require you to have liability insurance with high coverage limits, effectively treating your risk like that of an LLC anyways. Or imagine you built a successful local bakery under a DBA and want to bring in an investor to help you expand your business. Most investors would require you to form an LLC or a corporation before investing, as they want the liability protection and the clear ownership structure. Your business name protection also differs here. A DBA registration doesn't prevent someone else from using the same name in a different country or state, while an LLC registration typically provides name protection throughout the state that you live. And for nationwide protection, either structure would need a federal trademark registration, and the structure you choose really signals something about your business ambitions. Now, if you've finally made a decision on whether you want to go with an LLC or a DBA, the best way to go about doing that are going to be through the two links down in the description. If you want to get started with a DBA, I would highly recommend using Bizee. When you click the link down in the description, you'll be taken to a page that looks like this. They can help you form an LLC, but if you're looking to get a doing business as recommendation or signification, you can go through this link down in the description. And as you can see, we can go to their business formation tab here and see that they do have a DBA option that lets us easily get set up with that and have our business start to operate as such. We just go to the assume business name here, hit the file the assume business name button, and start filling out all this information. And as you can see, we're going to get started with doing this for only $0. That means we don't have to pay anything here and we can start operating our business immediately. If you're interested in getting started with an LLC, I would recommend using something like Tailor Brands. The reason I recommend this is that you can save 35% on any of the LLC plans that you choose when you use our link down in the description. When you click that link, you should be brought to a page that looks like this. As you can see, we simply choose which state we're going to form our LLC in, and we're going to be able to do that for $0 and get an extra 35% off of their premium compliance packages. We'll simply choose which state we want to get our actual LLC built in, hit the claim discount button, which will then take us to their setup guide, which will walk us through setting up our very own LLC. We'll choose our LLC name, come up with our compliance standards, and have everything we need to start running our business. If you guys have any questions about this process, make sure to comment them down in the comment section. Hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Remember that the links down in the description are affiliate links, and they do go towards supporting more videos just like this one, so thank you in advance for the continuing support of our channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.